Welcome to Talking Mopars, episode number 163. On this episode, we're going to talk about Dodge trucks. Now, not just any Dodge trucks. It's a generation of Dodge trucks that I don't think get the love that they deserve for being great projects. So we're talking about the second generation Dodge Rams. So, without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth. And I'm your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter, and this is Talking Mopars.
You're listening to Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter, your direct connection to all things Mopar.
Before we get the wheels turning on this podcast, I want to give a huge shout out to Passon Performance. They are the specialists in 4-speed manual transmissions for our old Mopars. So for all of your 4-speed Mopar needs, visit PassonPerformance.com. And Jamie, the owner, is actually going to be coming on Talking Mopars Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we're going to talk about Passon Performance, Jamie as a Mopar enthusiast, and of course, 4-speed transmissions, the infamous A833s, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to close out the show with some Q&A, so if you have any questions about 4-speeds, maybe you're swapping in a modern Hemi and you want to know how to keep your A833 behind that Hemi. Well, Jamie can answer those questions for you, so stay tuned for Sunday's special edition of Talking Mopars live with Jamie Passon of Passon Performance. Now, back to the show. It's time, once again, for Project Mopar of the week. This time, we have two Project Mopars, and they are both second-gen Dodge trucks, because that's the topic of the show today. We're talking about the second-gen Rams, and two of my favorites are the Indy Ram and the SST. Both are awesome little sport trucks. I think they're so cool, and I would love to have one of them. I don't care which one, the Indy or the SST. Either one would make me very happy, and we're going to be digging into those a little bit later on the show. But I thought because the subject was second-gen Rams that I would look for second-gen Rams and see what I could come up with and see what really struck me as an interesting deal, and I found two of them. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is a 1996 Dodge Ram Indy Pace truck for 5,200 Canadian dollars, and that's up in the British Columbia area. It's a pretty decent truck. The kilometers on it, it's got 158,000. We'll call it 159,000 kilometers. So just under 100,000 miles. And at 5,200 Canadian, that brings it to like, I don't know, 5,200. Let's do the calculator here. That's like under $4,000. So under $4,000 gets you a 96 Ram Indy Pace truck with under 100,000 miles. There's not very much information in this ad. It basically says 1996 Dodge Ram Indy Pace truck, 5,200. Rare, 1-year only sport muscle truck. Bought another truck. This one has to go, still insured, and has been my daily driver for the past few years. So it's got a clean title, low mileage. I think this is a good buy. I really do. These Indy Pace trucks are super hard to find. This one is, I can't lie. It's not in pristine condition. I mean, it's been a driver, clearly. But, I've seen a lot worse trucks for a lot more money. It's got that gorgeous, PCH blue with the white stripes. It's even got the white Dodge sticker across the windshield. It's wearing out pretty good, but it kind of gives it a cool, almost ratty look. Which, I like these trucks shiny and pretty, but, seeing this one a little ratty is kind of cool. I got to be honest. It still has the original Indy Pace truck wheels on it. It doesn't appear to have been repainted, and the paint isn't as oxidized as some that I've seen in the past. No visible, bad body damage. The rear bumper Looks like it has seen better days, but that's no big deal. Um, I would really have to take a look at this truck in person, but the rear bumper is a little bit hanging lower on the driver's side, so it's a little kittywampus. um, so it would have to be straightened out. It looks like there might be a little surface rust peeking through on some of these white stripes, um, and it looks like the driver's side tail light lens um, and trim piece are a little busted up. No big deal. With a truck like this, you know, the cool thing about second gen Rams is there's so many of them in wrecking yards that you can pretty much get whatever parts you need. If this thing had a worn out seat, which it doesn't really look like it has that problem, you can get the seats, you can get the tail lights, and a lot of these things you can get reproduction as well. These trucks are, I think, going to go up in value. This one being a project, you might not see a crazy amount of value in it for an investment. But if you're looking for a good entry level Mopar project, one of these trucks would be great. They got the 5.9 360 Magnum in them. So lots of potential there for some fun horsepower. But they're just good. They're good, solid trucks. I know a lot of people uh, mention the interiors and how, these things are infamous for cracked dashboards. Um, when I had my second gen Ram 2500 with the Cummins in it, yes, I blew the automatic out. So I had to get a new automatic for it. But I had it for a while, and finally the dash split on me. It was one of the selling points. I got in that truck for the test drive, and I looked at the dash, and I was like, wow, the dash is pristine in this thing. So it was only a matter of time before it cracked. But this truck right here, I like these trucks because there's so many available in the salvage yards that you can get all the parts you need. Maybe not indie trucks in the salvage yards, but a little paint, no problems. The only concerning part for me with this truck is inside the bed. There is one picture, and I don't know why this guy would take this picture, but it's of inside the bed, and he's got some blocks of wood, a couple quarts of oil, and one of those black rubber mats in the back of this truck. So he's got a black rubber mat, and it's got like tree debris and water in the bed. That's never a good sign. So this guy clearly doesn't give a shit, which is, not ideal. But hopefully the bed isn't rotted underneath that mat. But a picture like this is a little concerning to me because you're trying to sell this truck and you're going to want to clean it up a little bit. I don't understand these people that post these ads without cleaning up their vehicles a little bit. Present it well and it'll probably sell quicker. But for a guy like me, I look past that stuff and I go, okay, let's just say that, the bed looks okay underneath this mat and it's not rusted out. This would be a good buy. I'd probably try to hit him at 4,000 Canadian, which would bring the price closer to 3,000 US, because where we're at here in the United States, there's only one option, really, if you ask me, to bring the car into the United States, and that's by using a registered importer, which was what I did for the Mr. Norm truck. It cost me, we'll round up and say $1,500 to get that truck here into the United States with all the paperwork that I needed to take it to the licensing office and transfer the title. So I actually called John of Halter Registered Importers, and he operates out of Linden, Washington, which is right by the border. His company's called Halter Registered Importers, LLC. And he has a complete auto package service for transporting your vehicle, getting you the documentation, and modifying your vehicle that you're bringing over if it needs to be modified for, say, speedometer retrofits or something like that. But for $1,500 US or less, this is a standard public package. You can get your vehicle imported into the United States without hassle on your end. You have John and his team at Halter Registered Importers doing all the hard work for you. And all you got to do is go pick up your car. You just got to cut them a check. No big deal at all. It was super painless for me when I got the Mr. Norm truck over here. So I no longer worry too much about bringing cars into the United States from Canada. Now, not every situation is the same. So if you're interested, if you find a car or a truck in Canada and you're interested, reach out to Halter Registered Importers and you can find them at halterregisteredimporters.com. That's HALTER registeredimporters.com. Tell John that Chris from the Talking Mopars podcast sent you. You won't get a discount, but at least he knows that I'm helping get his name out there. But he made it so easy for me, and he kept my truck stored in a very secure shop until I could get up there to get it. So very good deal if you're trying to bring a car in from Canada. But this 96 Dodge Indy Ram, I think if you could get the price a little bit lower, I think it would be a fun little, I don't want to call it ratty. I don't think it's to that level yet, but it'd be a fun little daily project vehicle, a project Mopar that you could still have fun with. I think these things factory, the 5.9s, 245 horsepower, I think they could pull like a 15.5-second quarter mile time, which is kind of funny. And I believe they came with modified factory exhaust. So I think they had custom mufflers on them. I don't know, maybe Magnaflows or something like that, but I don't believe it was a factory muffler. So they sound pretty tough from what I remember and from what I've read. But I've always liked the factory 17x9 wheels on these things. I think they're really cool looking, and I think they fit the truck really well. And I would love to have one of these. If I don't get another tin grill, I got to be honest, I'm probably going to find a second gen Ram Indy Pace truck or an SST. And speaking of SSTs, the next project Mopar we have is a 1998 Dodge Ram 1500 SST for $3,800 in Middle River, which I believe is Maryland. So this one definitely has oxidized paint. I mean, the stripes are all but gone on this thing. And, these 1990s era Mopars that have the oxidized paint, you can see it kind of basically fading out from the top down. That's what this thing suffers from. But for $3,800, the owner says that the truck runs great. It's tagged, and he had a motor swap done last year with a 5.9 Magnum with 68,000 miles, all new gaskets and everything, has no leaks whatsoever. Best thing about the truck, he says, is that it is completely solid. No rust at all. None on the frame, fenders, quarters, no rust anywhere. He says he was going to use it as a hot rod project, but no time or space at the moment. He just had the brake pads, shoes, and oil change done. New battery, wipers, and new interior pieces. He said the interior needs some TLC, but he has most of what it needs already. And basically, it really just needs a paint job. It's got a little body damage. I'm not sure what he's referring to aside from the paint. It does have a roll pan on the back of it, and it does look a little banged up, so that could be what he's talking about. But I don't see any major damage on this thing. He also has a tonneau cover that originally had the stripes on it as well, so that's kind of cool. It looks like a solid project. It's an original SST with all the original parts, and even has the original spare tire. And being rust free, not a bad deal. It does have 223,000 miles on the body and chassis. Like he said, it does have a newer engine in it with 68,000 miles. So aside from the interior stuff that you'd want to take care of at 223,000 miles, it looks like a solid project. If you're into these little sport trucks like I am, this one would be a lot of fun to tinker around with. Eventually get it painted. But I would probably ditch that roll pan and get another rear bumper for it. But, for $3,800, I mean, what kind of Mopar, what kind of classic muscle Mopar can you get for $3,800? I'll tell you, not much. You might be able to get a couple quarter panels for a Charger or something, but you don't get much for that kind of money these days. And that's why I'm looking towards these second-gen Ram trucks as good Mopar projects, especially for the people out there that want to get into Mopars, but really don't have the budget to go out and buy a new Hellcat, or don't have the budget to go out and buy a 71 CUDA. You know what I mean? These are good middle of the roads. If you just want to play with a Mopar and you like trucks, these are great options. So are the first gens. So are the tin grills. The swept lines are starting to get a little crazy, but you can still find them for cheap. I always will be an advocate for Mopar trucks being great projects. I just wanted to show a little love to the second gens today. I miss mine every day. It was an awesome truck. But now I kind of want a two-wheel drive short wheelbase truck. I think they're cool. Standard cab. Um, I don't know. It just they just look cool. Dodge trucks just look better to me. And we're going to talk a little bit about the design and stuff and how the second gen saved Chrysler back in 1994. So we'll get to that later. But that was Project Mopars of the week. The two Dodge Rams, the 96 Indy Dodge Ram and the 98 SST, both for under $4,000. I think it's a good deal for both of them. And I wouldn't hesitate to bring some cash and look at either one of these if they're local to me. And actually, the Indy Ram is local to me, kind of. It's probably a 2.5 hour drive across the border. Man, if Facebook ever pays me my money that they owe me, I may have to go look at that thing and see if I can make a deal on it. You just don't see these Indy Pace trucks too often, and you don't find them too often with under 100,000 miles for not a lot of money. So, and this one has enough work that needs to be done that could keep me busy but not make me broke, and I can spend more money on having fun with it. But obviously I've got other projects right now I need to work on. But yeah, I wouldn't hesitate running up to Canada with some cash and taking a look at this thing, and then paying Halter to bring it across the border for me. But that was Project Mopars of the week. It's time once again for High Performance Parts, the segment of the show where we talk about a Mopar that has been seen on TV, whether it's movies or television, music videos. I've seen it all. So this week's high performance part belongs to a 1970 Dodge Charger RT in the 1999 film Blue Streak with Martin Lawrence. It's a it's a comedy. Gosh, you look back at some of these old movies, it's kind of funny because you're like, wow, this was a long time ago. But in the movie, in the first scene, when Martin Lawrence is breaking into this building to steal a jewel, a diamond, a large diamond, he's got Dave Chappelle, of all people, as the the wheelman, and he's sitting there chain smoking in a 1970 Dodge Charger RT. It's a shame that he was smoking in that 1970 Dodge Charger RT, but you can imagine how many people smoked in those cars back in the day. But yeah, there was a legitimate 1970 Dodge Charger RT in that movie. So I thought that was cool. I saw it just the other day. I forget if it was on Netflix or whatever, but I clicked on it because it's been so long since I seen that movie, and I forgot that there was a Charger in it. And there was a 1970 Dodge Charger in it that had Dave Chappelle chain smoking in it. So I thought it was funny, and I thought it would be fun to share here. Now, whether it's a legitimate RT, who knows? Could have been a clone. I believe it was green. I don't think it was F8 green, but I could be wrong. It did look like it had a vinyl top on it. But yeah, Mopars on the big screen, see them all the time. So if you have any suggestions of Mopars that you've seen on TV or in movies, you can actually send me those suggestions. You can reach me at chris@talkingmopars.com, and in the subject line, just put high performance parts, and then tell me what movie, what part of the movie or music video or TV show that you saw the Mopar in it, and we'll feature it right here on this segment of the show. I do like this part of the show because sometimes I don't really think about all the Mopars that are cool that have had appearances on TV. I just saw one recently the other day that, and I'm trying to remember what movie it was. It was Dante's Peak with Pierce Brosnan. So I guess here's another high performance part. He gets in a tin grill Dodge truck. I believe it was a 78. And this is like the first part of the movie. And as this mountain's erupting, he jumps in this 78 tin grill Dodge truck and takes off. I thought that was pretty funny. And one of the turn signals in the grill was not working. Go figure. So I guess you get 2 for 1 today. The 1970 Dodge Charger RT in the 1999 film Blue Streak with Martin Lawrence and Dave Chappelle. And then, of course, Pierce Brosnan in Dante's Peak in the 1978 tin grill Dodge truck. That was high performance parts. The second gen Dodge Ram ran from 1994 to 2002. And when it was introduced in 1994, it couldn't have come at a better time. Chrysler really needed something to up the sales a little bit because they were suffering again from financial woes. And the 1994 Dodge Ram really helped them because it stood out from all the other manufacturers and the trucks that they were building. It was actually inspired by the Studebaker Transstar, which I think is funny because if you look at the way the 94 Ram was styled, or the second gen Ram was styled, you can see that instead of having a flat rectangular front end with the lights integrated into the grille, the Dodge had bulging fenders that integrated the headlights into the front and a separate grille altogether. And it gave it a real semi-truck front end. If you look at the older Kenworths from back in the day, they kind of followed the same styling cue. So I think that's where the attraction to these Dodges came from, especially from me, because as a kid, I was always a fan of semi-trucks. So when the 94 Dodge Ram came out, it looked like a Kenworth to me. But they were definitely needed by Chrysler Corporation at the time. The cool thing about these second gen Rams is you could pretty much get them however you wanted. You could get a V6 or your choice of the Magnum V8s, the 318 and the 360. You could get a Cummins. You could even get a V10. So you had a lot of options. You could get them obviously 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, dualies, short beds, and even the extended cabs with the door that opened. I mean, how many doors opened up with extended cabs? I believe that the Ram was actually the first to do that with the quad cab. And I believe that was in 1998. But very innovative. And when I look at these second gen Rams, I think they're underrated. I've always wanted a second gen sport Ram 3500 dually with a Cummins turbo diesel. I really think those trucks look good. But I like all second gens. Like I said, I had one. And lately, I've been thinking that the second gen Dodge Ram is going to be to Mopars what the OBS Chevy is to Chevy enthusiasts. I think the Dodge Ram from 94 to 2002 is going to make a comeback, especially in the I know that the second gens are super popular with all the diesel guys, and for good reason. They had the Cummins in them. I loved my truck. Biggest problem was it was an automatic and the dash cracked. Those are my two issues with that truck. Other than that, I loved it. But I've really started to grow a desire to have a short wheelbase 2-wheel drive second gen Dodge truck. Like I said earlier, preferably an Indy Pace truck or an SST. They're just super cool, and they're still reasonably priced. You can still get them for pretty cheap and have a lot of fun with them. Whether they have the 318 or the 360, plenty of performance options, plenty. Even if you got the 318, you can always swap for a 360. It's not that difficult. So there's so many options out there with those trucks. And like I said earlier, there's still plenty of them in salvage yards. So if you need parts, they're easy to come by. The trucks are a dime a dozen. If you're not picky like me, you can get into the quad cabs. Lots of quad cabs out there for cheap. The diesels are still running a little more on the expensive side, but you get a vehicle capable of 500,000 or more miles with the right maintenance. Mine, when I got rid of it, basically I was just at the point where I needed to upgrade the fuel system. I had already put a new transmission in it, which cost me a lot of money. Thankfully, I always buy my used vehicles with extended aftermarket warranties, so it was covered for the most part. But I just really I've talked about Dodge trucks being a great entry-level Mopar project car for enthusiasts, or project truck. And the second gen, I don't know if I gave it enough airtime. I think I gave most airtime to tin grills and first gen Dodge trucks, but second gens are great project trucks too. And I want it to be known that I'm an advocate for all Dodge trucks, but that I think that these 94 to 2002 second gen Dodge Rams I think they're going to go up in value. And I think that they're going to become increasingly popular with the prices of these muscle cars starting to get into the crazy realm where a lot of, blue collar average Joes like myself can't afford those crazy cars. So we look to other vehicles in the Mopar um, lineup that would still suit our needs for something fun that we can build up to be fast and sound good. And I think that these second gen Rams are great for that. Mostly because you can get them for so cheap. I just saw a 94 the other day with a 5.9 Magnum in it, short wheelbase, two-wheel drive for like $1,000. Now, I was looking at it and I was like, this thing's a little worse for wear, but I'm like, God, every part that I'm looking at that needs to be replaced, you can find in a salvage yard for pennies on the dollar. So it would be nothing to get that thing, quote unquote, restored or at least in better shape. And you'd probably be in that thing $5,000 and have a really nice second gen street truck. Always been a fan of street trucks. So I just really wanted to take this episode and just, advocate for the second gen Rams as great project trucks. Um, my buddy Scott's got one right now. Hopefully we get to see him at Matt's. That's Muscle Cars at the Strip, March 17th through the 19th, 2023 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Make sure you're there. We're doing project cars at the Strip, and he's entered his second gen Ram into the competition. So again, these things make great projects, and I will never not say that Mopar trucks make great projects, especially as these ones start to get older and more readily available. You get a lot of guys that are just retiring their old trucks, so it's a good time to be a Mopar enthusiast that's equal opportunity, like myself. So when I look at muscle cars and I see them getting so crazy, even for A bodies, it's getting crazy. So when I'm looking at, the shell of a 73 Scamp, and I'm going, oh my God, this guy wants $5,000 for a shell of a Scamp. What are we doing here? I can go get a short wheelbase Indy Pace truck for $5,000, and it's, in my opinion, cooler. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things. So that's kind of why I advocate for Mopar trucks, aside from the fact that, not just can we not all afford these old muscle cars, but as far as parts availability, like lately, it's been really hard to get parts. I hear people all the time going, where can I get quarters for a Dodge Charger? Like, good luck. But if you got a little short bed 2-wheel drive Dodge Ram, we'll say a 95, and you needed some seats, a couple bumpers, maybe a door or a tailgate, you're not sitting there waiting months on parts that are back ordered. You're going right to your local pick and pull or whatever, and you're going to go pull the parts you need for, all of that. You could probably be had for less than $500. You know what I mean? And the Magnums are great engines, and they can be modified, for some pretty damn good power. It's not too uncommon to see a 5.9 360 stroked out, 408, 410. So the options are definitely there for those of us that are like, man, I really want a Mopar project. I like trucks. The tin grills, everyone I find is way rusted out. The first gens, they're kind of crazy on prices, or they're hard to find. Gosh, I want a short bed, 2-wheel drive Dodge truck. I can't get an old swept line. Those are hard to find and getting more expensive. Hey, I'm just here to tell you, maybe look at the 94 to 2002 Dodge Rams, because they make great projects. So, I guess that's really all I wanted to say about the Dodge Rams, the second gens. I mean, what more is there to say? The diesel trucks have been popular for a long, long time. And I know that these second gen Rams, the sport trucks, it's like they had their time in history and then people forgot about them or something. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel. I don't see very nice ones too often. So when I do see a nice second gen Ram, it really makes me smile, especially an SST. An SST or an Indy Pace truck. Every time I see one of those on the road, I'm just like, hell yes. Also, I can't forget about the Dakotas. Those Dakota RTs are really cool. If I could find a standard cab Dakota RT, I'd probably get one of those too. Those are pretty neat. But when it comes to being a Mopar enthusiast and somebody who wants something fun, a good project that won't break the bank, man, it really doesn't matter what generation. But look into Dodge trucks. They're a lot of fun. I remember when I had the Mr. Norm truck. The truck was special to me, but I never really thought that people would get it. You know what I mean? Not Mopar enthusiasts. I know that we all get it. I'm talking about other people, like your average Joe. But I don't know what's happened in the past few years, but these, kind of ratty patina trucks are super popular. I couldn't take that truck out anywhere without people, giving me a thumbs up, or people just love old trucks. And I think if you were to get one of these second gens, two-wheel drive short bed, and make it really nice, I don't think that you should be surprised if somebody goes, "That's a badass truck, dude." Nah, man, sitting here talking about him now, I'm like, maybe I should make a deal on that on that Indy truck up in Canada. We'll see what happens in a couple months. Maybe he'll still have it, and maybe I can get it for a good deal. Unless one of you guys goes and buys it, that would be great because you would save me some money. But yeah, I thought it was important, because I always talk about ratty Mopars, ratty muscle cars, stuff like that. I just thought it would be important to reiterate that it doesn't have to be a muscle car, if you want a project Mopar. These trucks make great projects. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I don't know how many second gen Ram fans there are out there, but especially the non-diesels. But like I said, I just wanted to be an advocate for these trucks because I think they make great projects. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. And remember, no Mopar left behind. Before we shut this podcast episode down, I wanted to remind you guys really quick that I'm doing a special Sunday Night Live edition of the podcast, streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube with Jamie Passon of Passon Performance. He's going to be answering all your 4-speed questions and telling us a little bit about himself as a Mopar enthusiast, as well as his business, Passon Performance. It's going to be a great time. I can't wait. So we'll see you on Sunday. Be sure to tune in and be sure to share the stream with your Mopar addicted friends. There you have it, my friends. Another episode of Talking Mopars is in the books. For everything you need to know about this show, you know where to go, talkingmopars.com. And you can reach me by emailing Chris at talkingmopars.com or by leaving me a voicemail on my voicemail box at 209-28-MOPAR, and you just might get to hear yourself on the show. So keep sharing those Mopar stories with me and anything else that is on your Mopar addicted mind. Special thanks to my friends at DIYHemi.com. For those of you that don't know, Blake has rebranded DIY Hemi, so although the website is still DIYHemi.com, DIY Hemi is now Sublime Technologies. So if you've been considering swapping a modern Gen 3 Hemi into your classic Mopar, then reach out to Sublime Technologies, get a hold of Blake, and tell them that I sent you. Blake has supported me from the beginning of this show, and I also support him in his mission to Hemi swap the world. Also, don't forget how important it is to keep your Mopar protected from the elements. If you need protection, don't wait. Head on over to TalkingMopars.com, click on the Affiliates tab, and go get your Mopar covered today. That's it, my friends. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.